our next new speaker, and he's going to be talking about the applicability trap. And your time starts now.
I'm going to talk to you about component content systems, or component content management systems. You might have heard of those. They compose of three primary factors. You have transclusion, you have conditional content, and you have partial transclusion. The mechanism for this varies depending on the system you're using. DITA has DITAval, DocBook has profiles, ASCII-Doc has conditional directives and the include directive. But this can go badly wrong sometimes. And I'm going to kind of vault into a story here. It took me about 20 years of thinking that I was just merely incompetent, where I kept on running into the same wall over and over again with the S1000D applicability functionality. And I only realized in the last few years that there is a sort of a poison pill in the center of component content systems. Let's say I make planes. I'm going to keep it very simple because I think it's going to be applicable for everybody, even if you don't make planes. I decided to make superplane. It has variants A, B, and C. My publications department has decided that this is a good approach for a component content system. We're going to chunk it into systems. So we're going to have a chunk that can support all the variants and all the different deliverables. And let's say we have a wing system and a fuel system. We roll this out. It goes fairly well. The wing systems and the fuel systems are applicable to variants A, B, and C, which potentially cuts the work by 1/3 or even more. But then we have a change. Superplane D is introduced, and they want it to support the functions of a riding lawnmower. It's also featured to be the new baseline, which means that all future configurations will be based on it. But unfortunately, the variant B of superplane is not functional with the subsystems on variant D. They also want to combine the wing module and the fuel module into a singular wing fuel module. Publications proceeds forward. We compose a new system, a wing fuel module system, but we lose the change history from both the wing system and the fuel system, meaning that we don't know what happened in the past with those two other systems that now compose the new one. That's a problem. It fails audit, for one, according to 14 CFR, and I won't go into that because 14 CFR is a giant bag of rats. The other problem is conditional overhead. Because every time you put a piece of conditional logic into a file, you're introducing an amount of overhead to handle the conditional logic. If you introduce enough logic, then you actually introduce enough overhead to overshadow whatever savings you're making by deduplicating the content. How do you know that you're in a trap? Well, it's kind of arithmetic. So you take a task, and you make a task for each variant you've got. Variant A, variant B, variant C. You take that content, you add it together. You count up the bytes. Now you make just one task, and you conditionalize it, so that one task supports all the variants. If the single task with a conditional logic is bigger than all of the three tasks put together, you're in the trap. Your overhead has gotten bigger than any of the deduplication efforts that are saving. The cleanup, the cleanup, the cleanup. Superplane D became a sort of secret, separate product. We realized it wasn't actually a variant. It's actually a new plane. But we kept it a secret, and we rolled its own deliverable out, combining it with A, B, and C in post-production, so that it looked like it was a part of the same family, but it was not. Another was to go and re-baseline the product of superplane D into its own sort of pseudo variant of superplane 0, so we could pretend that that was the new baseline. Why does this happen? There's a lot of stones to throw, but at its core, it's a linguistic problem. When you have a document, it's combined by features of natural language, including other artifacts like heading levels. When we take that content and we chop it up, we're replacing the natural language of the document with a business architecture, something that's derived from the product architecture, from the company that we're creating it from. This works great if your product architecture is in place. If your product architecture is not in place, you're going to have a pile of gibberish. You'll have separate tasks that are wandering around in the ether like the audio. If anyone would like to hear more about it, I'm giving a quick talk at 2 o'clock in the unconference. Thank you very much.